BBC Radio Devon, that's a-ha, and Take On Me, it's 11:10. So then, time to say a very good morning to one Alistair Cope. A very good morning to you, Alistair Cope. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, Vic. Good morning to you. Good morning.
A very good morning to you. I've described you as a Devon eccentric. You don't mind that at all, do you? That's your...
I was listening to that earlier, I know.
Yes.
That's fine, Vic.
Yes. We'll explain why in a moment. But an extraordinary year for you, another extraordinary year to come up as well. I was saying earlier, I think you started the Tour of Britain stage in Sidmouth, didn't you? You were the lucky person to actually drop the flag, is that right?
No, I didn't drop the flag. I think that was Stuart Hughes.
Oh, Stuart Hughes, of course.
But we were there... there was myself, my son, Sebastian, and some of the other stewards from Vela Vintage, and we helped lead it out. So we're riding the penny farthings out through Sidmouth, an amazing crowd. There were also some school children there as well. It's great for the kids, great to see the kids there. But we kind of let out just before the professionals went out. So it was great, lovely
absolutely.
feeling.
And indeed, on the TV coverage that evening of the highlights, you were the person to introduce the commentary team, so that was rather good too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know Matt Bobbert and Yanto as well. So I was just pushing along the penny farthing, they spotted me. So that was very kind of them. I was kind of them to get involved.
Now then, let's talk about your exploits first of all. Let's talk about how we first got to know each other, and that was when you paddled from Edinburgh to Exmouth. Just explain what that was all about. That was a few years ago now. It is extraordinary.
It was, I know it does. It was was that 2013? I think it was. Well, I've done a lot of cycling. I've done quite a lot of canoeing over the years, and I was working my way through the country on the bike, and I thought, well, there's a lot of water in the middle of England. If you look at various lakes and the rivers and the incredible canal system we have. And I thought, well, maybe I can combine canoeing and cycling. And I ended up towing a canoe when I couldn't find water, to another canoe behind me. And then when I could find water, I put my bike onto the canoe and paddled away. And it took me about a month altogether. I wasn't actually trying to do it quickly, but I worked way down from Edinburgh to Exmouth, finished at Exmouth. But in fact, I almost lost it on the River Ex on the last day, crossing across there to Limpston. I thought, this is it, I'm not going to make it. It all got a bit rough.
Yeah, that would have been a bit ironic, wouldn't it?
It would have been, I know. But it was a great trip, fantastic trip. Met some amazing people. And good fundraising as well for a local charity, for Headway Devon as well, which was great to do.
And you also do, we should explain, quite a lot of work for military personnel as well. Tell us about the work that you're involved in there.
Yeah, it's become very special to me over the last 5-6 years now. I work for Blesma, which is helping principally limbless veterans, and using the cycling side of things as well. We've been organising tours in this country, particularly out in Belgium since the commemoration of the 100 years. And it's getting guys back onto their bikes. It could be that they've lost more than one limb. And they're riding with their arms on hand bikes. Could be that they're on upright bikes and they've got prosthetics. But it's a very humbling experience for me, and it's a fantastic challenge for them at the same time. And it's become one of the most important things I do now. I think I love doing it, love working with the guys, and very, very special.
Yeah, I think you did a rather special ride this year as well, didn't you? Connected with that.
Well, we did a ride. We do a ride once a year where we combine 10. It does vary actually, but roughly say 10 British guys, British servicemen, and 10 from America, which is the Wounded Warrior Project. And so we combine that together and call that Soldier Ride UK. And we've been doing that, and that's great where you get the guys from different sides and sharing their stories and what they've done and how they've battled through difficult periods. And so that's a regular kind of thing we do. I've also started taking the last 2 years guys across to Morocco as well, and a really challenging route there. So that's been a great thing. But also the Belgian ones I mentioned earlier. So it's a combination of all different things. Trying to give it a variety, trying to get some challenges, but it's the camaraderie which is an amazing thing to experience and see. So it's a great thing, Vic. It's a really great thing to do. I'm very, very fortunate on that.
We should explain also that not only did you paddle and pedal, but you also rode a penny farthing from Bristol to Exmouth. Now, that's no mean feat, because I don't think before that you'd ridden a penny farthing very much, had you?
No, not a lot. Well, actually, we went from the British Museum in the end. We've done it over 3 years. We had the idea of going from London down to Exmouth. And then we thought, actually, let's do it over over a few years. And so the first one we did was Bristol to Exmouth, and that's quite good. You can get that quite flat, which I'm quite keen on a penny farthing really. But then we thought, well, let's think a bit more. So we've now ridden, in fact, from the British Museum all the way down to Exmouth over 3 years. We're just trying to work out where we're going to go this Easter. So it's become a bit of an Easter tradition to disappear off and go riding on the pennies, touring on the penny farthings for that's with my son Sebastian for 4 days. So it's great. I mean, you haven't got any brakes, and going down the hill is a little bit concerning. You need to kind of get it right there, but it's a lovely, lovely, graceful way to travel.
How difficult or easy is it to do? Because I've seen you sort of run along a bit and then you jump on the back of this thing, but it's a specialist way of riding a bicycle. How do you do it?
I don't think it's too bad. I mean, on the flat it's okay. I mean, if you're riding along the seafront, or I try and get the route as level as we possibly can. It's okay. It is just like riding a bike. I suppose that's a confidence thing. You are very high. You've got to find. You can't cope with emergencies terribly well. That's quite a bit of a tricky. I don't like being surprised too much on them, because you are very high and you're very committed. So getting off, you can't just put your foot down to the side. You've got to remember that when you come to a junction, you can't just rest your foot. You've got to step off the back. So to start it, you kind of scoot along, get a bit of momentum, then step up and away you go. And stopping is kind of the reverse of that. So it's fine. Going uphill, I prefer going uphill to going down. It's going down which is the hardest, because your weight's too far forward.
Yeah, you wouldn't fancy coming down from Haytor to Bovey on that, would you?
If I did, I'd only end up doing it once. And that would be the end of it. I wouldn't go very far.
Don't do this at home, children, please.
No, definitely not.
In terms of what else you do, then, many around the county would have seen you dressed up in military costume, leading out the Velo Vintage Rise. Tell us about your military costume, first and foremost.
It's a bit of a mixture of things. I mean, the local bit, the Devon bit, is that I've got a pair of Royal Marine trousers, which have got the red stripe down the side, and I got those to match the jacket, which in fact is actually Italian, and that's Italian police. And then I've got a pith helmet. I'm not entirely sure where that all came from, but that's got a badge on it, which is to do with the cycling corps, and also I've got a Devon regimental badge. That's a long history. It's another long story. So it's a bit of it's a funny old uniform, but we like wearing something which is a bit striking on the pennies, and clearly that one does stand out and adds a bit of colour to it. But it's great fun, and the event itself is we put 12 events on now in Devon. I can't believe it, over the last don't know how many years. So it's been great, a very sociable occasion.
It is an extraordinary thing, isn't it, where people who normally would have kind of, relatively sober forms of dress suddenly then, on a Saturday or a Sunday, decide that they want to put on vintage clothing and ride these extraordinary machines, vintage bicycles, which you probably remember from your childhood, and now here they are again being ridden. It's an extraordinary sight, isn't it?
It is great, and I tell you it's been really great, is that when we started off, we do encourage anyone on any bike. We're not that kind of worried about it. But people have gone out and they've either gone down the shed and dug out their dad's or granddad's bike, or they've purchased some old bikes and done them up. So people are now getting many of the vintage period bikes and then dressing accordingly often to the bike. A bit like Graham Brodie, who you were chatting to earlier. He's been riding a police bike, or he's now got a butcher's bike, so he dresses as an old butcher and things like that. So people have really got into it, and it's lovely to see. And I think the nostalgia that it generates with many people locally has been fantastic to see. So a lot of great effort. It's been a great fun thing to do.
It's not just the bike ride, though. You call them occasions. It's the actual events that you hold around it. How do you put those together? Because they're themed, and a lot of work goes into that. How do you come up with the ideas for them?
I don't know. Everyone keeps asking me. I'm not entirely sure. They just kind of pop in. And the nice thing is we've always been in Devon. We intend to stay in Devon, so we've got a strong Devon theme. So we like to support and work with local producers. Benton Cider is a good example of that. We've been working with them over the last few years. So we'll try and get cider, cream teas, all that kind of thing that you'd associate with the Southwest. We try and bring into it. So then you start to look at that and look at the nature of the terrain and the countryside we're in, and it just comes together bit by bit. And you're trying to think, well, what can we do? But like the teas we have in the church and parish halls and things like that, it just feels a very kind of wholesome thing to do. And it falls into place. I'm not entirely sure how, really.
Extraordinary. So 2016 is done and dusted all but for a few days. What have you got planned for 2017?
Right, well, we're definitely, I've got the usual, working with Besma again, and we're off to Belgium, we're off to Morocco, and doing stuff in the UK, which that's great. That's going to be challenging stuff, but really good to do. Easter, we'll be back out with I'll be back out with my son Sebastian on the pennies, and we're debating on that one exactly where we're going to be, whether we're in Devon, but the route we've done, we want to kind of add a bit to either the head or the tail of it, so we'll be connecting on that. Actually, my daughter and son-in-law are thinking of running the Southwest Coast Pass. I might end up acting as support for them. So it's fantastic the family's doing a bit there. And I'm working on another pipette at the moment, not for this year, for next year, but not for 2017, 2018. So where we want to get sailing into the canoe as well at the same time. So trying to work that one out, which has been a bit complicated. Better Vintage, we'll probably have 2 events. Again, we're still chatting about the venues, but within Devon. And again, we're trying to add a different angle to it at the moment on old traditional transport in with the bikes as well, without giving too much away.
Fantastic. It never stops, does it? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's extraordinary stuff. And do you kind of look... I mean, we were chatting to Graham Brodie earlier. He, as you know, he is an avid collector of bikes. I think that's the expression. I think you are too, aren't you?
I've got too... Yes, I've got too many. And I do need to kind of part with a few this year, I think. Just space keeps going, and it's also trying to maintain. And I'd rather share them around a little bit more as well if I possibly can. But I love 2 wheels. I love 2 wheels, and even if it's got an engine in, sometimes the whole motorcycle thing, which I'm planning 1 or 2 trips on those. But it's I don't know what it is about 2 wheels. It's just totally addictive, and I love the whole feeling and the motion of riding bikes, whether it be a penny farthing or single speed or tandem. It's just a great motion you get from it. So I love that side, but I have got too many, Vic, yes, if that's what you're implying.
Marvellous. Well, a joy to talk to you as always, and we wish you very well for 2017. You never know, 1 or 2 you may get me on this Morocco thing at some point.
You'd love it. You'd absolutely love it.
Well, it's great. And actually, there is this report out today, in all seriousness, they'll be talking about this after 1 o'clock with Janet Kipling on BBC Radio Devon, I know. But it is important to get some activity, albeit, you know, it may not be cycling from Bristol to Exmouth on a penny farthing, but it's important to get something, isn't it, really?
It's really important, and on a regular basis. And you don't have to go off and do huge miles, but it's a regular. Well, that's the key thing about the Bella Vintage. It has got people back on their bikes, and it's got them out on a regular basis. You may only go and do, and it sounds a lot for some people, you may only do 12 or 15 miles, but actually once you build up, you want to keep doing it. It does become addictive. But exercise is such an important thing. And being out in the fresh air as well. I'd always add that to it. So yes, I'd encourage everyone, if they're doing their kind of New Year's resolution, just get that down. Get back on the bike.
Marvellous. Bless you, Alistair, as always, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Take care.
Take care.
Previously.